Welcome to Night Stories, where shadows whisper, nightmares crawl, and every tale drags you deeper into the dark. If you dare to listen, leave the lights off and let the night begin. I swiped right on Alex because his profile screamed normal. A 32-year-old software engineer with a goofy smile, pictures of him hiking in the mountains, and a bio that read, "Looking for someone to share bad puns and good coffee with." No red flags, no mirror selfies with abs, no cryptic quotes about loyalty. Just a guy who seemed safe, boring even, which after my last breakup was exactly what I needed. We matched on a Tuesday evening while I was scrolling through Tinder on my couch, half watching some true crime documentary. His first message was simple. "Hey Sarah, your dog in that pic looks like he could star in his own adventure movie. What's his name?" I laughed. My profile had a photo of me with Max, my golden retriever, on a beach walk. "Max," I replied. "He's more of a couch potato than an adventurer." The conversation flowed easily from there. Favorite hikes, coffee spots in the city, light banter about our jobs. I mentioned I was a graphic designer at a small firm downtown, but kept it vague. No specifics. That's Tinder 101, don't overshare until you meet. We agreed to drinks at a trendy bar called The Lantern on Friday night. Public place, easy escape if things went south. I told my best friend Lena about it over lunch that day. "He's cute, right? And he hasn't asked for nudes yet, so bonus points." She rolled her eyes but made me promise to text her when I got home. Standard protocol. I arrived a few minutes early, nerves buzzing like they always do on first dates. I wore my go-to outfit, black jeans, a fitted top, and heels that made me feel confident without trying too hard. The bar was dimly lit, with exposed brick walls and shelves lined with artisanal bottles. I grabbed a stool at the bar and ordered a gin and tonic to steady myself. Alex walked in right on time, spotting me immediately. He was taller than his photo suggested, with dark hair tousled just right and a casual button-down shirt. "Sarah," he said, smiling as he approached. "You look even better in person." We hugged awkwardly, that first date shuffle, and he ordered a beer. Conversation picked up where our messages left off. He talked about his job at a tech startup, coding apps for e-commerce. "It's not glamorous," he said, "but it pays the bills." I nodded, sipping my drink. "Sounds stable. I'm in design, logos, websites, that sort of thing. Keeps me creative." As the night went on, things felt good. He was attentive, asking questions without dominating. We laughed about bad dates we'd had before. His involved a woman who brought her cat to dinner. Mine was the guy who spent the evening pitching his MLM scheme. The bar filled up around us, a mix of couples and groups, the hum of chatter providing a comforting backdrop. But then, about halfway through my second drink, something shifted. We were talking about weekend plans, and I mentioned I might visit my parents upstate. "Oh yeah? In Albany?" he asked casually. I paused, glass midway to my lips. I hadn't mentioned Albany. My Tinder profile said nothing about my family or where they lived. Yeah. How'd you know that?" He shrugged, taking a sip of his beer. "Lucky guess. You said upstate, and Albany's a common spot." His smile was easy, but I felt a tiny prick of unease. Maybe I had mentioned it in a message? I pulled out my phone under the pretense of checking the time and scrolled back through our chat. Nope, nothing about Albany. Okay, coincidence. People guess right sometimes. I brushed it off and steered the conversation to movies. We both liked thrillers, and he recommended one I'd been meaning to see. "You'd love it. It's got that twist ending like in Gone Girl." The night wore on, and we ordered appetizers, fries, and some fancy cheese plate. He asked about my dog again. "Max must keep you busy. Goldens are high energy, right? Especially if you're walking him in that park near your apartment." My fork froze over the cheese. "What park?" "You know the one off Elm Street with the big fountain?" I hadn't told him where I lived. Not the street, not the neighborhood. My profile just said city dweller. And Elm Street? That's exactly where my building was, a quiet residential area with a small park where I took Max every morning. A chill ran down my spine, the kind that makes your skin prickle. "Alex, how do you know about the park?" I tried to keep my voice light, but it came out sharper than intended. He blinked, then laughed softly. "Oh, come on, Sarah, it's not a secret. You posted about it on Instagram last week. That pic of Max chasing a squirrel. Instagram. My account was private. I only accepted follows from people I knew. I grabbed my phone again, heart pounding now. I searched his username, Alex Codes, in my followers. Nothing. He wasn't following me. How the hell? I don't think I follow you, I said, forcing a smile. Did I miss a request? No, I must have seen it through a mutual or something. He waved it off, dipping a fry in ketchup. Don't worry about it. Tell me more about your job. You work at Pixel Forge, right? That place with the cool office downtown? Pixel Forge, my firm's name. I definitely hadn't mentioned that, not in messages, not tonight. My LinkedIn was public, sure, but why would he look that up before the date and tie it to my Tinder? A wave of nausea hit me. This wasn't normal. Guys Google sometimes, but this felt deeper. Actually, yeah, I said slowly, testing the waters. It's a small team. My boss, Karen, is great. Karen Wilkins, the one who used to work at Adobe? He grinned like we'd shared an inside joke. Holy shit. Karen's last name, her old job. That wasn't on our company site. It was buried in her LinkedIn bio, maybe. But who'd dig that far? I felt the room tilt. My mind raced. Had he stalked my profile, hacked something? No, that was paranoid. But the details, they were piling up. I excused myself to the bathroom, legs shaky as I wove through the crowd. In the stall, I texted Lena. Date's weird. Guy knows too much. Coming home soon? She replied instantly. By TF? Call if you need. Be safe. Back at the bar, Alex was scrolling his phone. He looked up with that same easy smile. Everything okay? Yeah, just long week. I sat down, but my drink tasted sour now. We talked a bit more, but I was on edge, parsing every word. Then he dropped the bomb. So how's your brother doing? Mike, right? Still in law school at NYU? My blood ran cold. Mike, my brother. I'd never mentioned him, not once. His name wasn't on my socials. We weren't even Facebook friends because he hated it. How did Alex know about Mike? About NYU? Alex, I said, voice barely above a whisper. How do you know about my brother? He tilted his head, expression innocent. You must have told me. Or maybe I saw it somewhere. Relax, Sarah. We're just chatting. But I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. Panic clawed at my chest. This wasn't a coincidence. This was deliberate. He'd researched me deeply, stalked me online, maybe more. Followed me, the park, my job, my family. What else did he know? I glanced at the door, calculating. The bar was crowded. I could slip out. But he was watching me now, eyes sharper than before. You okay? You look pale. I think I need to head home, I muttered, grabbing my purse. Not feeling great. Oh, come on, the night's young. Let me walk you to your car. It's not safe out there alone. No, hell no. I'm fine. Uber's on the way. A lie, but I tapped my phone anyway. As I stood, he grabbed my wrist, gently but firm. Sarah, wait. I think we have a connection here. Don't run off because of a little paranoia. Paranoia. My heart hammered. I yanked free, weaving toward the exit. Outside, the cool air hit me like a slap. I hailed a cab, glancing back. He was at the door, watching. In the cab, I blocked him on Tinder, then checked my other apps. No follows from him. But how? I Googled my name with his. Nothing. Then it hit me. Maybe a fake account, or worse. Phone buzzed. Unknown number. You left your scarf. Want me to drop it off at your place? 247 Elm Street, App 3B? My address? He knew my fucking address. I stared at the text, terror flooding me. This wasn't just a bad date. This was something much, much worse. The cab's tires hummed against the pavement as I stared at the text. You left your scarf. Want me to drop it off at your place? 247 Elm Street, Apt 3B? My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't left a scarf at the bar. My address, my exact apartment number. How did Alex know? My hands shook as I typed a reply to Lena. He knows where I live. Call me now. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror, his brow furrowing. You okay, miss? Yeah, just hurry, please, I managed, giving him my address. My phone rang seconds later. Lena. I answered, keeping my voice low. He texted me my address, Lena. My apartment number. I never told him. What the hell? Her voice was sharp, panicked. Where are you? In a cab, almost home. I blocked him on Tinder, but he's got my number somehow. Stay on the phone with me. Lock your door when you get in. I'm calling Jake. Jake was her boyfriend, a cop who worked the night shift. Relief flickered, but it didn't erase the dread pooling in my stomach. The cab pulled up to my building. I scanned the street, empty, just parked cars and streetlights casting long shadows. No Alex. I paid the driver, bolted inside, and double-locked my door. Max greeted me, tail wagging, oblivious to my panic. I checked every room, every closet, even behind the shower curtain. Nothing. But the text burned in my mind. How did he know so much? Lena stayed on the line. Jake's on his way. He says don't open the door for anyone but him. Can you see anything outside? I peeked through the blinds. The street was still quiet, but a figure moved under a streetlight a block away. Too far to tell if it was him, but my heart raced. Someone's out there, I whispered. Okay, stay calm. Jake's 10 minutes out. You've got Max, right? He'll bark if anyone tries to get in. Max was curled up on his bed, snoring now. Some guard dog. I grabbed a kitchen knife and sat on the couch, phone in one hand, blade in the other. Every creak in the old building made me jump. My mind spiraled. Had Alex followed me before the date? Hacked my phone? Stalked my socials through a fake account? I opened my laptop and checked my Instagram again. Still private, no new followers. Same with LinkedIn, Facebook, everything. But he'd known about Mike, Karen, the park. It wasn't guesswork. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. You didn't have to run, Sarah. I just want to talk. I dropped the phone like it burned. He was taunting me now. I forwarded the text to Lena, who was still on speaker. This guy's unhinged, she said. Jake's almost there. Hang on. A knock at the door made me freeze. Max's head shot up, ears perked. Sarah, a muffled voice called. It's me. You forgot your scarf. My blood turned to ice. It was Alex. Here, at my door. Max growled low, hackles raised. I gripped the knife tighter, backing away from the door. Go away, Alex, I shouted, voice shaking. I'm calling the police. Silence. Then another knock, softer. Come on, don't be like that. I'm not a bad guy. I just did my homework. Wanted to impress you. Homework? That's what he called this? Stalking me, digging into my life? I didn't respond, just dialed 911, whispering my address to the operator. Max barked now, loud and sharp, pacing by the door. Police are on their way, I yelled. Leave! Footsteps shuffled outside, then faded. I ran to the window, peering through the blinds. A figure was walking away, hands in pockets, head down. It looked like Alex's build, his jacket. My phone buzzed again. I'll give you space. But we're not done. I felt sick. The police arrived minutes later, Jake with them. He was in uniform, his face grim as I explained everything. The date, the details Alex knew, the texts. They searched the street but found no one. Jake took my phone to log the messages and promised to run Alex's name through their system. We'll get his info from Tinder if we need to, he said. Stay with Lena tonight. Don't be alone. I packed a bag, grabbed Max, and headed to Lena's. She hugged me tight when I arrived, pouring me a glass of wine I could barely sip. This is some next-level creepy, she said. How'd he get all that info? I don't know, I admitted. It's like he had a dossier on me. I couldn't shake the image of him standing at my door, so calm, like he belonged there. The next morning, Jake called with an update. They'd tracked down Alex's Tinder profile, which led to a real name, Alexander Cole. He had no criminal record, but his address was a P.O. box, and his phone was a burner. That explained the unknown number. Jake's team was working with Tinder to get more data, but it wasn't much to go on. He's careful, Jake said. Probably used fake info to sign up. We're checking local cameras for footage from your street. Careful. That word stuck with me. This wasn't impulsive. Alex had planned this, researched me before we even matched. But why? I wasn't rich or famous, just a designer with a normal life. What did he want? I stayed with Lena for days, jumping at every notification. I'd changed my locks, got a new phone number, and made all my socials private, even deleting old posts. But the paranoia lingered. At work, I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see him. My boss, Karen, noticed my distraction and pulled me aside. "You okay, Sarah? You seem spooked." I told her a watered-down version. Bad date, creepy guy. She frowned. "Be careful, I had a weird call last week from someone asking about you. Said they were a client, but they didn't know our protocols. I didn't think much of it then." My stomach dropped. "What did they ask?" "Just general stuff. Your role, your hours. I didn't give details, but they knew your name." She promised to flag any odd calls going forward. That night, Jake called again. They'd found footage from a camera near the lantern. Alex had lingered outside after I left, watching my cab pull away. Worse, they spotted his car, a gray sedan, parked near my building earlier that week. He'd been there before the date. "We're building a case," Jake said. "But without a clear threat, we can't arrest him yet. Stay vigilant." Vigilant. I barely slept, replaying every moment of the date. His smile, his casual tone, the way he dropped my brother's name like it was nothing. I started digging myself, searching his name online. Alexander Cole was too common. Hundreds of hits, none clearly him. But one result caught my eye. A tech forum post from a year ago, someone with his username, Alex Codes, bragging about scraping data from dating apps for market research. My skin crawled. Was that how he got my info? Scraped my profile, cross-referenced it with public records, social media, anything he could find? Weeks passed with no sign of him. Jake's team couldn't locate him. The P.O. box led nowhere, and his Tinder account was deleted. I started to breathe easier, convincing myself he'd moved on. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe he was just a creep who got off on knowing too much. Then one night I got a new text from a different number. "Nice new locks, Sarah, but you should really check your mail." I froze. My mail. I hadn't checked it in days, too paranoid to linger outside. Heart pounding, I grabbed Max and went to the mailbox. Inside was a single envelope, no return address. I tore it open, hands trembling. A photo slipped out, me, walking Max in the park, taken from a distance. On the back, in neat handwriting, "See you soon." I called Jake, sobbing. They traced the number, another burner. The photo had no metadata, no clues, but it was proof. Alex was still watching. The police put a patrol car outside my building, but I knew it wouldn't stop him. He was too careful, too patient. I moved in with Lena permanently, sold my apartment, and started looking for jobs out of state. I'd never feel safe in this city again. Alex was out there, somewhere, knowing everything about me, and I knew nothing about him, except that he wasn't done. I kindly ask you to like and subscribe if you find my stories interesting. Let's continue now. I swiped right on Alex because his profile screamed normal guy. A software engineer with a dog named Max, pictures of him hiking in the mountains, and a bio that read, "Looking for someone to share bad puns and good coffee with." No shirtless selfies, no cryptic quotes about living life on the edge, just wholesome vibes. We'd been messaging for a week, light banter about our favorite podcasts, how we both hated pineapple on pizza. When he suggested meeting for drinks at a bar downtown, I figured, why not? It was Friday night, and I was tired of scrolling through endless profiles. I got ready in my apartment, slipping into a black dress that was cute but not trying too hard. Mascara, a spritz of perfume, and I texted my best friend Sarah the details. Meeting Alex from Tinder at the Lantern at 8. "If I go radio silent, send the cavalry." She replied with a thumbs up and a heart emoji. Standard protocol. The bar was crowded, the kind of place with exposed brick walls and Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Alex was already there, nursing a beer at a corner table. He looked just like his photos, tall with messy brown hair and an easy smile. "Emily?" he said, standing up to hug me awkwardly. "You made it." We hit it off right away. He was funny, self-deprecating, telling stories about his disastrous attempts at baking during lockdown. I laughed more than I had in months. 2 drinks turned into 3, and before I knew it, the bar was closing. "My place is just a few blocks away," he said, his eyes meeting mine. "I make a mean nightcap, old-fashioned?" I hesitated for a second. Sarah's voice echoed in my head. Never go to a stranger's house on the first date. But Alex seemed harmless, and the chemistry was there. Plus, I was buzzed, feeling invincible. Sure, I said, smiling. Lead the way. We walked through the quiet streets, the city lights flickering off puddles from an earlier rain. His neighborhood was older, with row houses that had seen better days, peeling paint, overgrown yards. It's a fixer-upper, he explained as we approached a narrow two-story with a sagging porch, renting from this eccentric landlord. Cheap, though. Inside, it was surprisingly neat. Hardwood floors, a leather couch, bookshelves crammed with tech manuals and thrillers. Max, the golden retriever, bounded over, tail wagging furiously. I knelt to pet him, feeling a bit more at ease. He's the real charmer, Alex said, heading to the kitchen. Whiskey or gin? Whiskey, I called back, wandering around the living room. There were no photos on the walls, which struck me as odd. No family, no friends. Just abstract prints and a massive TV. I shrugged it off. Maybe he was minimalist. He came back with 2 glasses, clinking mine. To new beginnings. We settled on the couch, talking about everything and nothing. His hand brushed my knee and I didn't pull away. The alcohol warmed me from the inside, loosening the knots of caution I'd carried all night. That's when I heard it, a faint click from the front door. I glanced over, but Alex was mid-sentence, something about his job at a startup. Did you hear that? I asked. He paused, then chuckled. Oh yeah, the door. It's this weird lock the landlord installed. It auto-locks from the outside after a certain time. Safety feature or something. Don't worry, I have the key. From the outside? I repeated, a prickle of unease creeping up my spine. So, we're locked in. He laughed again, that easy, disarming sound. Yeah, quirky landlord thing. He's paranoid about break-ins. But hey, we're safe in here. He took a sip of his drink, his eyes lingering on me a beat too long. I forced a smile, but my mind was racing. Why would a door lock from the outside? That didn't make sense for safety. It trapped people inside. I glanced at my phone, 1:15 a.m. Sarah would be asleep by now. Mind if I use the bathroom? I said, standing up. Down the hall, first door on the left. The hallway was dim, lit by a single bulb. I passed a closed door, probably his bedroom, and another that looked like a basement access with a heavy bolt on it. In the bathroom, I splashed water on my face, staring at my reflection. Get a grip, Emily. It's just a weird door. He's nice. But as I dried my hands, I noticed the window, small, high up, barred with iron grates. Not unusual for a city house, but combined with the lock. Back in the living room, Alex had refilled our glasses. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, just that lock thing is kind of freaky. How do you get out in the morning? He leaned back, casual as ever. The key's in the kitchen drawer. Landlord's rule. No duplicates, but it works fine. Want to see? I nodded, following him. The kitchen was spotless, almost sterile. He opened a drawer, rummaging through utensils. Must have misplaced it. No big deal. I'll find it later. My stomach twisted. Later? Like we're stuck until you find it? He turned, grinning. Relax, Emily, it's here somewhere. Besides, where's the rush? We were having fun. Fun. The word hung in the air like a bad joke. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check a message. No signal? Wait, that couldn't be right. I'd had bars outside. Hey, do you have Wi-Fi? My phone's acting up. Sure, password's on the router. He pointed to a device in the corner, but as I approached, I saw it was unplugged. Oh, shoot. Must have knocked the cord. Let me fix that. While he fiddled with it, I wandered back to the front door, trying the handle. It didn't budge. I pushed harder, rattling it. Solid. No keyhole on this side. Just a smooth panel. My heart started pounding. Alex, this isn't funny. Open it. He emerged from the kitchen, holding up a key ring. Found it, see? No worries. He inserted a key, twisted, and nothing happened. He tried again, frowning theatrically. Weird. Maybe it's jammed. Jam it open, then. My voice came out sharper than intended. Whoa, easy there. His tone shifted, a hint of irritation creeping in. It's an old house. These things happen. I backed away, scanning the room. The windows, were they barred too? I moved to the living room one, peering out. Grates, just like the bathroom. All the windows are like this? Landlord's paranoia, remember? Burglar-proof. He stepped closer, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Why so jumpy? I thought we were vibing. Vibing. God, I hated that word now. I grabbed my purse from the couch, clutching it like a shield. I need to go, now. Call someone. A locksmith, your landlord, whatever. At this hour? Come on, Emily, sit down, have another drink. We'll sort it in the morning. Morning? The thought of spending the night here sent ice through my veins. Max whined from his bed in the corner, sensing the tension. I edged toward the hallway, my mind flashing to the basement door. Was there a back exit? Show me the back door. He sighed like I was being unreasonable. Fine, this way. We went through the kitchen to a small mudroom. Another door, same setup, no interior handle, just a panel. Locked. See? Same system. Panic clawed at me. This isn't normal, Alex. Doors don't lock people in like this. He leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. Maybe in your world, but hey, silver lining. More time to get to know each other. His gaze drifted down my body, and for the first time, I saw it. Not attraction, but something hungry, possessive. I bolted back to the living room, dialing 911, no signal. Give me your phone. Mine's dead, he said flatly, following me. Plugged in upstairs. Then get it, I shouted. He didn't move. Instead, he picked up his glass, swirling the ice. You know, Emily, you seem so adventurous on Tinder, willing to take risks. But now, you're freaking out over nothing. Nothing? I was trapped in a stranger's house, no way out, no communication. My breath came in short gasps. Think, Emily. The basement. Maybe a window down there without bars. Or a tool to break something. I need some air, I lied. Is there a basement, maybe a vent or something? He raised an eyebrow. Basement? Sure, but it's unfinished, messy down there. Show me. He hesitated, then shrugged. If it'll calm you down. We went to the hallway door, the one with the bolt. He slid it open, flicking on a light that buzzed dimly. Stairs descended into shadows, the air cool and musty. I started down, him close behind. Halfway, I glanced back and saw him slide the bolt shut from the inside. Just in case Max tries to follow, he said. At the bottom, the basement was a concrete tomb. Boxes stacked against walls, a workbench with tools, an old washing machine, no windows, no exits. My blood ran cold. See, nothing here, Alex said, his voice echoing oddly. I turned to face him, realizing too late. The door at the top was locked now, too. We were sealed in, or rather, I was, with him. What's really going on? I whispered, backing against the wall. He smiled, that same easy grin. Like I said, quirky landlord thing, but don't worry. We've got all night. The basement air felt thicker now, pressing against my skin like a damp towel. Alex stood between me and the stairs, his silhouette framed by the flickering light bulb overhead. His smile, once charming, now looked like a mask stretched too tight over something darker. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he could hear it. I clutched my purse, fingers brushing the pepper spray I always carried but had never used. Not yet. Alex, I said, forcing my voice steady. This isn't funny anymore. Open the door, now. He tilted his head like he was studying me. You keep saying that, Emily. But where's the fire? We're just hanging out. He took a step closer and I instinctively backed up, my shoulder hitting a stack of cardboard boxes. Something inside them shifted, a muffled clink like glass. Stop it, I snapped. You're scaring me. Open the damn door. His smile faded, replaced by a look I couldn't quite place. Annoyance, maybe, or something colder. Scaring you? Come on. I'm the same guy you were laughing with an hour ago. You're overreacting. He spread his hands like he was reasoning with a child. Let's go back upstairs, have that drink. No. I cut him off, my grip tightening on the pepper spray. I'm leaving. Get out of my way. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he sighed, stepping aside with exaggerated politeness. Fine, be my guest. I didn't trust it, but I had no choice. I edged past him, keeping him in my peripheral vision, and started up the stairs. My legs felt like jelly, but I forced myself to move. At the top, I grabbed the door handle and twisted. Nothing. The bolt was still locked from the inside. I rattled it, panic rising like bile. "Unlock it, Alex." He was halfway up the stairs now, moving slowly, deliberately. "Told you, it's a quirky landlord thing. Sometimes it sticks." Bullshit. I banged on the door, hard, hoping Max would bark or someone outside might hear. Silence. The house was too solid, too isolated. I turned, pressing my back to the door. Alex was closer now, one hand resting casually on the railing. "Emily, relax, you're making this weird." His voice was calm, but his eyes were wrong. Too focused, like a predator sizing up prey. I fumbled in my purse, yanking out the pepper spray and pointing it at him. "Back off, I mean it." His eyebrows shot up, but he didn't look scared. More amused. "Whoa, okay, tough girl, no need for that." He raised his hands, taking a step back. "Let's just talk, yeah?" I didn't want to talk. I wanted out. My eyes darted around the basement, searching for anything useful. The workbench, screwdrivers, a hammer, a rusty wrench. If I could get to them, maybe I could pry the door open. Or defend myself. "Stay there," I ordered, sidestepping down the stairs, keeping the spray aimed at him. He watched me, not moving, but I could feel his gaze like a physical weight. I reached the workbench, grabbing the hammer with my free hand. It was heavier than I expected, cold against my palm. "I'm going to break the lock if I have to," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Good luck with that," he said, his tone mocking now. "Those doors are steel reinforced, landlord's really into his security." My stomach dropped. Steel? Who installs steel doors that lock from the outside? I glanced at the boxes behind me, the ones that had clinked. Curiosity, or desperation, made me nudge one open with the hammer. Inside, I saw glass jars, neatly labeled with dates and names. Women's names. Sarah, Jessica, Lauren. My breath caught. There were at least a dozen. "What the hell are these?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Alex's expression changed, the mask slipping completely. His eyes were hard now, his mouth a thin line. "You shouldn't have looked in there." I didn't think. I just acted. I sprayed the pepper spray, aiming for his face. He yelled, stumbling back, hands clawing at his eyes. I bolted for the stairs, hammer in hand, slamming it against the lock. The impact reverberated up my arm, but the bolt didn't budge. I hit it again, harder, screaming in frustration. Behind me, Alex was coughing, cursing. "You bitch," he roared, his voice raw. I didn't look back. I kept hammering, the metal denting but not giving. My phone was still useless. No signal, no Wi-Fi. I was alone. Then I heard it. A faint scratching from the other side of the door. "Max?" I pounded again, shouting, "Help! Someone help!" The scratching grew louder, more frantic. Maybe the dog was trying to get in, or maybe someone else was out there. I clung to that hope, hitting the lock until my arm ached. Alex was moving again, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. I spun around, brandishing the hammer. His face was red, eyes streaming, but he was coming for me, fury etched into every line. "You're not leaving," he growled. I swung the hammer, aiming for his shoulder. It connected with a sickening thud and he staggered, grabbing the railing. I didn't wait to see if he'd recover. I turned back to the door, slamming the hammer one last time. The bolt shifted, just a fraction, but enough to give me hope. I jammed the hammer's claw end into the gap, prying with all my strength. The lock groaned, then popped open. I threw the door open, stumbling into the hallway. Max was there, barking wildly, but I didn't stop. I ran for the front door, praying it would open now that the basement was unsecured. My hands shook as I grabbed the handle. It turned. The door swung open, cool night air hitting my face like salvation. I sprinted outside, not looking back, my bare feet slapping against the wet pavement. I didn't stop until I reached a gas station 2 blocks away, its fluorescent lights a beacon in the dark. The clerk, a bored-looking guy in his 20s, barely glanced up as I burst in, panting. "Call the police!" I gasped. "Now!" He blinked, then grabbed his phone. I sank to the floor, clutching the hammer I hadn't realized I was still holding. My mind replayed the jars, those names. How many women had been in that house? How many hadn't made it out? The police arrived within minutes. I told them everything, Alex, the locks, the jars. They listened, scribbling notes, their faces growing grim. When they searched the house, they found Alex gone, the back door wide open. The jars were there, though, filled with trinkets. Rings, earrings, a locket, trophies. They never found him. The landlord, an elderly man who lived across the country, claimed he knew nothing about the locks or Alex's history. The house had been rented under a fake name, paid in cash. The police kept investigating, but Alex vanished like a ghost. I moved out of the city a month later, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Sarah helped me pack, and we never talked about that night, but I know she blames herself for not stopping me. I don't blame her. I blame myself for swiping right. Sometimes, late at night, I check my phone, half expecting a new Tinder notification. It's irrational, but I can't shake the fear that he's out there, starting over with a new profile, a new dog, a new trap. And somewhere, another woman is walking into a house with doors that lock from the outside. Want to request a story? Let me know down below and I will write one. I swiped right on him because his profile seemed refreshingly normal. In a sea of gym selfies and vague bios like, just looking for fun, Alex stood out. His pictures showed a guy in his late 20s with a clean-cut look, short brown hair, a button-up shirt in one, hiking gear in another. His bio read, software engineer by day, amateur photographer by night. Love coffee, good books, and meaningful conversations. Let's grab a drink? No red flags. We matched and the chat flowed easily. He asked about my job as a graphic designer, shared stories about his weekend hikes, even recommended a book I'd been meaning to read. After a week of messaging, he suggested meeting at a cozy cafe downtown. Neutral ground, no pressure, he typed. I agreed. What could go wrong? The day of the date arrived, a crisp autumn evening in September. I got ready with the usual mix of excitement and nerves, curled my hair, picked a simple black dress that was cute but not trying too hard, and spritzed on my favorite vanilla perfume. I texted my best friend Sarah the details. Meeting Alex at Brew Haven 7 p.m. If I don't text by 9, send the cavalry. She replied with a thumbs up and a heart emoji. Safety first, right? I'd been on enough Tinder dates to know the drill. I arrived a few minutes early, grabbing a table by the window. The cafe was bustling, couples chatting, a group of friends laughing over lattes, the barista calling out orders. It felt safe, public. When Alex walked in, he looked just like his photos. Tall, about 6'1", with a lanky build and those wire-rimmed glasses that gave him a smart, approachable vibe. He spotted me, waved, and made his way over. Hey, Emily, he said, his voice steady and warm like in our messages. We hugged awkwardly, that first date shuffle, and he sat down across from me. We ordered drinks, a cappuccino for me, black coffee for him. The conversation started off okay. I asked about his day at work, and he mentioned debugging some code for a client app. Sounds intense, I said, smiling. I'm more of a visual person. Give me Photoshop over programming any day. He nodded, his eyes locking onto mine. Yeah, visuals are important, he replied. Then, nothing. He just sat there, staring at me with this wide smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. It was like he'd hit pause on himself. I shifted in my seat, stirring my coffee to fill the silence. So, you mentioned you're into photography. What kind of stuff do you shoot? I asked, trying to keep things light. He tilted his head slightly, that smile unwavering, and after a beat too long, he said, people mostly. His gaze didn't waver. It drilled into me like he was cataloging every freckle on my nose, every blink of my eyelids. I laughed nervously. Cool, like portraits? Another pause, something like that. And back to the stare. The silence stretched. I could hear the espresso machine hissing in the background, the murmur of other conversations. My phone buzzed in my purse, probably Sarah checking in, but I didn't want to seem rude by pulling it out right away. Tell me more about that book you recommended, I prompted, desperate to fill the void. The one about the lost hiker? His smile widened just a fraction. lips pulling back over straight white teeth. "It's gripping," he said softly. "You should read it." No elaboration, just more staring. His eyes traced the line of my jaw down to my collarbone, then back up to my face. It wasn't leering exactly, not in a sexual way. It was analytical, like he was committing me to memory piece by piece. I took a sip of my cappuccino, the foam sticking to my upper lip. I wiped it away self-consciously, and I swear his eyes followed the motion of my hand, lingering on my fingers. Do I have something on my face?" I joked, half hoping he'd snap out of it. He shook his head slowly, still smiling. "No, you're perfect." The word hung there, too intense for a first date. My stomach twisted a little. Okay, maybe he was just socially awkward. Introverted programmer type, right? I'd dated those before, but this felt different. The silence wasn't comfortable. It was heavy, expectant. To break it, I started rambling about my week. A client who kept changing their mind on a logo design, how I'd binge-watched that new true crime series on Netflix. He didn't interrupt, didn't add anything. Just nodded occasionally, that perpetual smile fixed in place, eyes unblinking for stretches that made my skin crawl. I caught myself glancing at the clock on the wall. Only 20 minutes in? It felt like hours. "What about you?" I asked. "Any weekend plans?" Pause. "Watching," he said simply. Watching what, I wanted to ask, but the way he said it with that stare made the word echo weirdly in my head. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a breather. In the mirror, I checked my reflection. Nothing out of place. I texted Sarah. "Date's weird. Guy barely talks, just stares and smiles. Creepy vibe." She responded immediately. "Get out if it feels off. Want me to call you?" I typed back, "Not yet," giving it 5 more minutes. Back at the table, he hadn't moved. His coffee sat untouched, steam long gone. As I sat down, he leaned forward slightly, eyes locking on again. "You have beautiful eyes," he murmured. "Like emeralds." It could have been a compliment, but the delivery was flat, observational. No warmth. I tried steering the conversation to safer ground. "So, how long have you been on Tinder?" Standard question. He blinked, finally, and said, "Long enough." Smile, stare. My mind raced. Was he high, shy, or something worse? I'd read those stories online, dates that turned stalkerish, but he hadn't done anything aggressive. Yet. The cafe was still full, but I felt isolated, like we were in a bubble of his making. As the minutes ticked by, the staring intensified. Every time I spoke, he'd watch my lips move, then my hands gesturing, then back to my eyes. It was as if he was studying me, memorizing patterns. I laughed at my own joke about a bad client email, and he mirrored it, a soft chuckle that didn't match his expression. Creepy. I glanced around, wondering if anyone else noticed. The couple next to us was deep in their own world. The barista was wiping counters. "Tell me something about yourself that isn't on your profile," I said, forcing a smile. Maybe that would crack him open. He leaned back, crossing his arms, but his eyes stayed glued. "I like to observe," he replied after another endless pause. "People's habits, the way they move, it's fascinating." Okay, that sent a chill down my spine. "Like people watching?" I clarified, my voice a bit higher than usual. "Exactly." His smile grew, showing more teeth. "Like right now." My heart picked up pace. This wasn't awkward anymore, it was unsettling. I checked my phone openly, 7:45. "Wow, time flies," I lied. "I have an early morning tomorrow." He didn't react at first, just kept staring. Then slowly, "We should do this again." No question, just a statement. I mumbled something non-committal, grabbing my coat. As I stood, he did too, towering over me a bit. "I'll walk you to your car," he offered, still smiling. Panic flickered. The parking lot was dimly lit, and the idea of being alone with him there made my skin prickle. "No, that's okay. It's right outside." But he insisted with that unyielding gaze. We stepped out into the cool night air, the streetlights casting long shadows. He walked beside me, silent again, hands in his pockets. I could feel his eyes on the side of my face, tracking every step. My car was only a block away, but it felt like miles. When we reached it, I turned to say goodbye, keys ready in my hand. "Thanks for the coffee," I said quickly. He nodded, stepping closer. Too close. "Emily," he whispered, his breath warm on my ear. "I can't wait to see you again." His smile was wider than ever, eyes gleaming under the street lamp. I got in the car, locked the doors, and drove off, heart pounding. In the rearview mirror, he stood there, watching me go. That night I couldn't shake it. I blocked him on Tinder, told Sarah everything. But as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, a notification popped up on my phone, from an unknown number. Sweet dreams. No name. Just that. My blood ran cold. How did he get my number? We hadn't exchanged them. The next morning, I woke to another text. A photo of me at the cafe sipping my cappuccino, taken from across the table. No, he'd never pulled out his phone, or had he? I zoomed in. The angle was wrong. It was from outside the window. The photo stared back at me from my phone screen, my own face frozen mid-sip, oblivious to the camera. My stomach churned. I hadn't seen Alex take it. His hands had stayed on the table or in his lap the whole time. And the angle, slightly tilted, the cafe window framing me like a portrait, meant someone had been outside, watching. Was it him, or worse, someone else? My apartment, usually a cozy sanctuary with its soft throw blankets and warm lamplight, felt exposed. I double-checked the locks on my door, my heart hammering as I drew the curtains tight. I called Sarah, my voice shaking as I explained the texts. "That's not just creepy, that's stalker level," she said, her tone sharp with worry. "You need to go to the police." I hesitated. What would I even say? A bad date and a weird photo weren't exactly a crime. But Sarah was insistent, so I promised to call a non-emergency line in the morning. For now, I blocked the unknown number and tried to sleep, my phone clutched under my pillow like a lifeline. The next day, I woke to 3 more texts from a different number. The first was another photo, me walking to my car, my coat slung over one arm, keys glinting in my hand. The second, "You looked nice last night." The third, sent just after midnight. "Why'd you block me?" My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. This wasn't a coincidence. Alex, or whoever was behind this, had my number, knew where I parked, and was escalating. I called Sarah again, and she was at my place in 20 minutes, her face pale but determined. "You're not staying here alone tonight," she declared. I didn't argue. We drove to the police station, where a tired-looking officer took my statement. I showed him the texts, the photos, and explained the date. He jotted notes, his expression neutral. "We can't do much without more evidence," he said. "No direct threats, no clear ID on who sent these. Could be a prank." A prank? My gut screamed otherwise, but I nodded, feeling dismissed. He suggested changing my number and keeping a log of anything else that happened. As we left, Sarah squeezed my hand. "We'll figure this out, Em." Back at her place, I tried to distract myself with a movie, but every buzz of my phone made me jump. I deleted my Tinder account, scrubbing every trace of myself from the app. But the unease lingered. How had he gotten my number? I hadn't shared it. Had he followed me before the date? The thought made my skin crawl. Sarah suggested I stay with her for a few days, and I agreed, packing a bag with enough clothes for a week. That night, another text came through. Yet another number. No words, just a photo of my apartment building's front door, time-stamped an hour ago. I felt sick. Sarah grabbed the phone, her jaw tight. "That's it. We're getting you a new number tomorrow, and we're installing a camera at your place." I nodded numbly, but my mind was spiraling. Was he still out there, circling my life like a vulture? I barely slept, haunted by the memory of his unblinking stare, that too wide smile. The next morning, we went to my phone provider and got a new number. Sarah found a cheap security camera online, and we set it up outside my apartment door, linking it to an app on my phone. I felt a flicker of control, but it didn't erase the dread. Work was a blur. I could barely focus on my designs, jumping at every notification. My boss noticed and sent me home early, assuming I was just stressed about deadlines. If only. That evening, while Sarah cooked dinner at her place, I got an email. Not from Alex, but from an address I didn't recognize. axphotog92@gmail.com. The subject line was blank. My pulse spiked, but I opened it, Sarah peering over my shoulder. It was a single line. "You're harder to see now." Attached was a grainy photo of me and Sarah leaving the police station, taken from across the street. Sarah cursed, grabbing her keys. "We're going back to the cops. Now." This time, the officer was more serious. The email, combined with the texts and photos, suggested a pattern. They traced the email to a public library IP address downtown, but without a name or more specific data, it was a dead end. They advised me to stay vigilant, keep the camera on, and call immediately if anything else happened. I felt like a sitting duck, waiting for the next move. Days passed with no new messages, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I'd catch myself scanning crowds, half expecting to see Alex's lanky frame or that eerie smile. Sarah stayed with me at my apartment, her presence a comfort but not a cure. The camera caught nothing unusual, just neighbors, delivery guys, the occasional stray cat. I started to wonder if I'd overreacted. Maybe he'd gotten bored and moved on. Then a week later, my camera app pinged at 2 a.m. I bolted upright, fumbling for my phone. The footage showed a figure standing outside my door, face obscured by a hoodie. They didn't knock or try the handle, just stood there for 3 minutes, then left. My blood ran cold. The height, the build, it could have been Alex. I called the police, who reviewed the footage but said it wasn't clear enough for an ID. They increased patrols around my building, but I knew it wasn't enough. Desperate, I dug into Alex's online presence. His Tinder profile was gone, but I remembered his last name from our chats, Carter. A quick search pulled up a LinkedIn profile for an Alex Carter, software engineer, with a photo matching his face. His job history checked out, but his social media was sparse. Locked Instagram, no Facebook. I found a photography blog linked to his name, but it was empty except for one post. A black and white photo of a crowded cafe, time-stamped months ago. In the background, barely noticeable, was a woman who looked eerily like me, sipping coffee alone. I felt like I was losing it. Had he seen me before we matched? Was I a target all along? I shared everything with the police, who promised to look into it but warned me their resources were stretched thin. Sarah and I decided to take matters into our own hands. We contacted a private investigator, a gruff ex-cop named Mike who specialized in digital stalking cases. He traced the phone numbers to burner apps, untrackable, but the email led to a library card registered under Alex Carter's name. Mike warned me to stay cautious. Alex was likely using public Wi-Fi to cover his tracks. The next week was quiet, but I didn't let my guard down. Mike dug deeper, finding a pattern. Alex had a history of short-term rentals in different cities, always moving after a few months. No criminal record, but Mike suspected he'd been reported before, just not enough for charges. "Guys like this," Mike said, "they get off on the chase, the control. He's testing you, seeing how far he can push." Then came the final blow. Another email, this time with a video attachment. It was me walking through a park near my office, filmed from a distance. The email read, "I see you, Emily. Always will." My hands shook as I forwarded it to Mike and the police. Mike acted fast, cross-referencing the video's timestamp with Alex's last known location. He found a car registered to Alex parked near the park that day. The police issued a warrant, tracking him to a cheap motel on the city's edge. They arrested him that night. In his room, they found a laptop with hundreds of photos, some of me, some of other women, all taken without consent. His phone had tracking apps, my old number saved, and a folder of screenshots from my social media, dating back months before our Tinder match. He'd been watching me long before I swiped right. Alex confessed to the photos and texts, but claimed it was just curiosity. No charges stuck beyond harassment, and he was released with a restraining order. I moved in with Sarah permanently, changed my number again, and deleted every trace of my online life. The police kept tabs on him, but Mike warned me he might resurface. I still check my camera feed obsessively, jump at shadows, and avoid cafes. I'm safe for now, but I'll never forget his smile, or the feeling that he's still out there, watching. I'd been on enough Tinder dates to know the drill. Small talk, awkward silences, maybe a spark if you're lucky. But when I matched with Claire, something felt different. Her profile was sparse, just a few photos of her in a sundress smiling at a farmer's market, and one cryptic line, "Looking for forever, not just for now." It was earnest, sure, but I figured it was just a cute way to stand out. Her messages were warm, witty, and direct. She didn't play the usual games. No ghosting, no one-word replies. When she suggested meeting at a cozy wine bar downtown after a week of texting, I was cautiously optimistic. Maybe this one wouldn't be a disaster. I arrived at the bar a little early, snagging a corner table with a view of the door. The place was dimly lit, with exposed brick walls and the low hum of conversation. I sipped a glass of water to calm my nerves, checking my phone for the time. Claire walked in right at 7 p.m., exactly as she'd promised. She was striking, tall with auburn hair pulled back in a loose bun, wearing a dark green dress that hugged her frame. Her smile was wide and immediate, like she'd been waiting all day to see me. "Ethan, right?" she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Her voice was soft but confident, and her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that caught me off guard. "Yeah, Claire, great to meet you." I extended a hand, but she leaned in for a quick hug instead, her perfume floral and overwhelming. "I'm so glad you're here," she said, settling back with a grin. "I had a feeling about you." The waiter came by and we ordered a bottle of red to share. The conversation started easily enough. Work, hobbies, the usual first date stuff. She was a graphic designer, loved hiking, and had a dog named Milo who she called my little soulmate. I told her about my job in marketing, my obsession with old vinyl records, and how I'd recently tried and failed to make sourdough. She laughed at my stories, her eyes crinkling, and I felt myself relax. She was charming, attentive, maybe a little intense, but in a way that felt flattering. Then things took a turn. "So, Ethan," she said, swirling her wine, "where do you see yourself in, like 5 years?" Her tone was casual, but her gaze was piercing, like she was studying me for an answer she already knew. I chuckled, buying time. Hopefully still in the city, maybe with a better apartment. Work's going well, so maybe a promotion. You know, the usual stuff. You?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand, her eyes never leaving mine. "I see us together," she said, her voice low and deliberate. "Like, really together. A house, maybe in the suburbs. A big backyard for Milo, and kids, too, at least. I've always liked the name Oliver for a boy. What do you think?" I froze, my glass halfway to my mouth. It was the kind of thing people say as a joke on a first date, testing the waters with a playful, "what if?" But there was no wink, no laugh. Her expression was deadly serious, her eyes wide and unblinking, like she was picturing it all right there in the bar. I managed, forcing a smile. "That's a lot to think about on a first date, huh?" I tried to keep it light, hoping she'd laugh it off. She didn't. Instead, she tilted her head, her smile tightening. "Why wait to talk about what matters? I'm not here to waste time, Ethan. I know what I want, and I think you do too." My stomach twisted. The air in the bar felt heavier, the hum of other conversations fading into a dull buzz. I took a sip of wine to cover my unease. "Sure. I mean, it's good to be up front," I said, scrambling for neutral ground. "But maybe we can slow down a bit? Get to know each other first?" Her smile softened, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, I feel like I already know you. Does that sound crazy?" She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. Her touch was warm, but it sent a chill through me. "Not crazy," I lied, pulling my hand back to grab my glass. "Just, fast." The waiter brought a charcuterie board we'd ordered, and I seized the chance to change the subject. asking about her favorite cheeses. She humored me, but her answers were short, her attention drifting back to me with that same intense stare. As we ate, she started dropping little comments that set my nerves on edge. "You'd look good in a suit," she said at one point, out of nowhere, like at a wedding. "Navy blue, maybe." Later, when I mentioned I liked to travel, she said, "We could honeymoon in Italy. I've always wanted to see Florence." Each time I tried to steer things back to neutral, movies, music, anything. But she'd circle back to this vision of us with a certainty that made my skin crawl. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she said them, like she was reciting a script she'd already written. By the time we finished the wine, I was looking for an exit strategy. I glanced at my phone, pretending to check a message. "Wow, it's getting late," I said, hoping she'd take the hint. "Oh, don't go yet," she said quickly, her hand shooting out to grab mine. Her grip was firm, almost desperate. "We're just getting started. Want to come back to my place? I make a mean espresso and Milo would love to meet you." The invitation felt like a trap. My gut screamed to say no, but I didn't want to seem rude. Or worse, trigger whatever was behind that intense stare. "Maybe another time," I said, forcing a smile. "I've got an early meeting tomorrow." Her face fell, but only for a second. Then she smiled again, too wide, too perfect. "Okay, but you're not getting away that easily. We're doing this again soon. Promise?" "Sure," I said, already planning to unmatch her the second I was out the door. I paid the bill despite her protests, and we walked outside. The night air was cool, a relief after the stifling bar. I turned to say goodbye, expecting a quick hug or wave. Instead, she stepped close, too close, and grabbed my arm. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice low and urgent. "I know this is right. You feel it too, don't you? We're meant to be." I stepped back, my heart pounding. "Claire, I had a nice time, but let's take it slow, okay?" Her eyes narrowed just for a moment before she nodded. "Okay, slow, I can do that." But as she said it, she reached into her purse and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. "For you," she said, pressing it into my hand. "Don't open it till you're home." Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed my cheek, her lips lingering a second too long. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the pavement. I stood there, clutching the paper, my pulse racing. Part of me wanted to toss it in the nearest trash can, but I shoved it in my pocket instead. Back at my apartment, I locked the door and poured a glass of whiskey to calm my nerves. The paper sat on my kitchen counter, taunting me. Against my better judgment, I unfolded it. Inside was a handwritten note, the letters neat and precise. "Ethan, I knew it was you the moment we matched. You're the one I've been waiting for. I've already started planning our life together. Don't be scared. This is just the beginning. Yours forever, Claire." Below the note was a sketch, a detailed drawing of a house with a picket fence, 2 stick-figure kids, and a dog that looked like Milo. In the center, holding hands, were 2 figures labeled Ethan and Claire. My hands shook as I crumpled the paper and threw it across the room. My phone buzzed and I nearly dropped my glass. It was a text from Claire. "Home safe? Thinking of you." I didn't respond. I unmatched her on Tinder, blocked her number, and double-checked my door's lock. But as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Claire's words, her stare, that note, they clung to me like a shadow. And somewhere deep down, I knew I hadn't seen the last of her. The days after my date with Claire were a blur of unease. Her note, that unsettling sketch, sat crumpled in my kitchen trash, but her words looped in my head. "Yours forever." Tried to shake it off, telling myself she was just intense, maybe a little unhinged, but harmless. I'd unmatched her, blocked her number, done everything to cut contact. Still, I couldn't stop checking my phone, half expecting another message to slip through. At night, I'd lie awake, replaying her stare. The way her grip on my arm felt like a claim. By Wednesday, I'd almost convinced myself I was overreacting. Work was busy, and I buried myself in spreadsheets and meetings. That evening, I grabbed takeout from a Thai place near my apartment and headed home, the city buzzing around me. As I turned onto my street, I noticed a dog tied to a lamppost. a scruffy golden retriever wagging its tail. It looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. Then I saw the collar, a tag engraved with Milo. My stomach dropped. I scanned the street, my pulse spiking. No sign of Claire, but the coincidence felt wrong. I hurried to my building, fumbling with my keys. Inside, I locked the door and peered out the window. Milo was still there, alone. Part of me wanted to go check on him, but every instinct screamed to stay put. I called animal control instead, giving them the location and description. They promised to pick him up. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door. Same neat handwriting. "You saw Milo. Why didn't you say hi? We're family now, Ethan." My hands shook as I read it. How did she know where I lived? I hadn't given her my address, hadn't even told her my neighborhood. I checked my Tinder profile. Nothing there gave me away. My mind raced, piecing together the possibilities. Had she followed me home that night? Or worse, had she been digging into me before we even met? I called my friend Jake, spilling the whole story over coffee at a crowded cafe. I didn't feel safe at home. "Dude, that's unhinged," he said, frowning. "You need to go to the police. This isn't just clingy, it's stalking." I nodded, but the idea of walking into a station with nothing but a creepy note and a bad vibe felt flimsy. Still, I filed a report online, detailing the date, the note, and Milo showing up. The automated response said they'd review the matter, which didn't exactly inspire confidence. That night, I installed a cheap security camera outside my door, linking it to my phone. I also changed my locks just in case. Paranoid? Maybe. But I wasn't taking chances. For a few days, things were quiet. No notes, no texts, no Milo. I started to relax, convincing myself she'd backed off. Then on Sunday, my phone pinged with a notification from the camera. It was 2 a.m. I opened the app, expecting a raccoon or a drunk neighbor. Instead, I saw Claire. She stood in the hallway staring directly at the camera. Her face was blank, almost serene, but her eyes were wide, unblinking. She held something, a small package wrapped in brown paper. For a full minute, she just stood there, motionless before setting the package down and walking away. My heart pounded as I grabbed a baseball bat from my closet and cracked the door open. The package was there, addressed to me in her handwriting. Against my better judgment, I brought it inside. Inside was a photo frame. The picture showed a couple holding hands in front of a house that looked eerily like the one in her sketch. The man's face was mine, cropped from a selfie I'd posted on Instagram months ago. The woman's face was Claire's, photoshopped in with unsettling precision. A note was tucked behind the frame. "This is us, Ethan. Stop fighting it." I dropped the frame, the glass cracking on my floor. My hands shook as I called the police, this time insisting they send someone over. 2 officers arrived an hour later. They took the frame, the notes, and my statement, but their faces said it all. This was weird, but not exactly a crime scene. "We'll try to track her down," one said. "Do you have her full name or address?" I didn't, just her first name and Tinder profile, which was now gone. They suggested a restraining order if I could ID her, but without more info, their hands were tied. They left me with a case number and a suggestion to stay vigilant. I barely slept after that, jumping at every creak in my apartment. I deleted my social media, made my accounts private, even started crashing at Jake's place. But the feeling of being watched never left. On Tuesday, I got an email from an unknown address. A single line, no signature. "You can't run from forever." Attached was a photo of me at the Thai place, taken from across the street. I hadn't seen her, hadn't felt her eyes on me. But she'd been there. I went back to the police, showing them the email. They traced the IP, but it led to a VPN, untraceable. They promised to escalate the case, but I could tell they were stretched thin. Jake convinced me to move temporarily, so I packed a bag and rented an Airbnb across town, using a friend's name to book it. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my family. For a week it worked. No notes, no packages, no Claire. I started to think I'd lost her. Then last night I came back to the Airbnb after grabbing groceries. The door was unlocked. I froze, my heart in my throat. I hadn't forgotten to lock it. I was sure of it. I stepped inside, gripping my phone, ready to dial 911. The apartment was dark, but I heard it. A soft hum like someone singing under their breath. It came from the bedroom. My legs felt like lead, but I crept forward, flipping on lights as I went. There she was. Claire sitting on the bed, Milo curled up beside her. She wore a white dress like something out of a wedding magazine, and her hands were folded calmly in her lap. "Ethan," she said, smiling that too wide smile. "You're home. I've been waiting." I backed away, my voice shaking. "How did you find me?" She tilted her head, like I'd asked a silly question. "I'll always find you. We're meant to be." She stood, taking a step toward me, and I saw the glint of something in her hand. A small, sharp knife held loosely at her side. Milo whined, sensing the tension. I didn't think. I turned and ran, slamming the door behind me, sprinting down the stairs and into the street. I called 911 as I ran, babbling about a break-in, a knife, Claire. By the time the police arrived, she was gone. So was Milo. The Airbnb was empty. No sign of forced entry, no trace of her. But on the bed where she'd been sitting was another note. "Next time, you won't run." The police are searching for her now, using the little I could give them. Her first name, her description, the photos. They think she's been tracking me through my phone, maybe a hacked app or a shared location I didn't know about. They've got my devices now, combing for clues. I'm staying in a hotel under a fake name, but I don't feel safe. Every shadow feels like her, every sound like her humming. I don't know how she found me, how she keeps finding me. But I know one thing, Claire isn't done, and I'm terrified of what forever means to her. Thank you for listening. Hope you didn't get too scared. If you want to listen more stories, check out my channel. Please leave a like and subscribe. It means the whole world to me.